Okay, very good. Everyone can hear me on stream? Yes, very good. See to it that you sit comfortably. And you allow this moment to be fresh. As if you're sitting here for the first time. You notice the activity, in the body, the activity in the mind. Be completely aware of thoughts moving, the sensations of the body, the emotional content. And whatever comes, just allow it to come. See if you can just completely be with this moment as it is. See if you can relax into it. Because it's only control that implies doing. Just being with your experience is more a hands-off approach. And as you notice that everything that you usually uphold, you let it subside. You notice the lack of doing. This can feel disorienting at first, but it comes with being. It can feel like the mind tries to hold on to things or find something to entangle itself with. But you just stay as you are. The only small effort that is needed here is to come back to being aware. If you get lost in thoughts or in the content of your experience, you come back to observing. To the mind, it can seem like meditation has some quality of becoming, because you might be more peaceful, more tranquil, more calm from your practice. But this is just a conclusion of the mind in time. In actuality, there is just beingness. And when you can easily relax into the natural beingness, there is peace. It's not really a quality that you have gained. It is a natural quality of the mind. To experience peace when there is no distractions. And if you feel drawn to this sattvic quality, this peaceful quality that resides in you, it will reflect in your actions. They will be less personal, more generous. You will see things in your life as service, not as gains. All these things comes from this sattvic approach. Because in the rajastic and tamastic minds, there's a lot going on, competition, victimhood, all these things. And the awareness of them will change them. Will change your interest from the tamastic or rajastic qualities to more sattvic qualities. Because that always brings about peace, peace of mind. Every moment invites you to be here, to stay as awareness, to be conscious of this moment, to be aware to notice that there is thinking, to notice that there is sensations in the body, sensations that come from the senses, emotional content, all of this. You don't have to force. You don't have to work super hard. You just have to be sincere in your practice. Really look, contemplate on your happiness, what is freedom, and so on. Until the question of contemplation itself melts into the silence. Always comes back to the same thing. Resting in the present moment as it is. It's just being. The only barrier we have is our own ignorance. That we get taken by the mind and believe its content. Identification with the mind is the ultimate obstacle. Because it's so easy to believe in, and sometimes very difficult to shake. But when presented to satsang, to inquiry, contemplation, all these beliefs have no chance. Because they always have to be upheld. You will notice that you always have to keep some effort to put into them for them to have energy to continue. They have to relate to some fear that you take as valid. and it can play with all your doubts. The egoic mind can just put in something and see if it sticks. You can open your eyes. You can move your body. It's so easy to listen to the things said when you talk about non-dual meditation, listen to Satsangs, and draw the conclusion that there is nothing to do. And on one level, that is true. But the mind very easily goes into hopelessness and say that there is no point in doing any sort of practice, any sadhana. Or that it's all up to luck. And if it's all up to luck, it seems like people who practice a lot of sadhana are much more lucky. They who sincerely pursue spirituality seem to be much more lucky. Because there is something that connects us to spirituality, which is our built-in longing for being free. And even if that takes us to strange places sometimes and confuses us and makes us think that we have to do certain things, it always takes us to clarity. Because if you really try to pursue something on your spiritual quest, you can also notice what it does. You have to pursue things in a way that you believe in. If you believe it takes a lot of effort, you have to really try and put in effort and see what it does. And after a while, if you will say, this takes me nowhere, it just makes me upset and really, really tired, then it's good. because you show yourself that the identification with a someone who's really making an effort is not helpful. So then you try to be super chill in your practice. Only when you like to practice, you practice. And in this practice, maybe you will notice that you're still going with the idea of someone who is super chill with their practice. That the obstacle is always the one that you think that you are. So the question is, does that one exist? And you might say, but I have a feeling that I am someone. But this sense of I, what does that relate to? What if the idea of the I that you are is not the I that is? Maybe the sense of I is just beingness. And as soon as that beingness touches things, it makes itself into them. It believes them. It believes the idea of the body, the idea of external circumstances. And have you paid attention if that is always there? When you wake up in the morning and feel a bit disoriented, because the idea has not yet clicked in. Or sometimes there might be just walking, or just sitting, or just eating. And then again you remember that you are someone that has things to do, places to be. I think everyone had these kind of experiences. Or you concentrate on something that you like. Completely lost in it. And then it's like you come back again and remember. What is going on there? Who is that one? Who is the one in you that is doing without being a doer? You say that beingness is far away sometimes. But the natural flow of life gives you hints. when you again connect with this silence within, when it's prominent and there, it's so precious. And you might even think, what do I do to keep it now? I have it in satsang, how do I keep it? But there is no one who can keep it. Because it does not belong to you as a thing. It is you. You cannot hold yourself. This silence is where everything comes from. And everything falls back into. Sometimes the cycle is short. Sometimes long. But everything in consciousness has this same cycle. Coming, staying, and going. Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. It's the nature of everything. And the mind assumes that this silence also comes, stays for a while, and goes. But the silence is what everything comes out of. Like a thought being formed has its say and withers into the silence. The body the same, just of a longer Vishnu state. But all the things around it always changing. We learn through experience little things about this life. We see the cycles of things. We feel more experienced. We feel like to see certain patterns. And some things we observe are really what happens. Other things are just colored by our ideas. So we project onto them what we want to see. That our life is going in an upward direction or a downward direction. That we're hopeful about things or hopeless about things. And it's so easy to be colored. And we buy into simple ideas, like ideas that meditation is simple or it's hard. But actually the sadhana is exactly what it is. The complicated things about this moment all have to do with your beliefs. And all the heaviness that is felt around things always comes from beliefs. And with that I mean psychological weight. You know what I mean by that? Yes. Maybe you have something to do and you think about it a lot, and it creates a lot of psychological weight. But doing it takes 5 minutes, and what we really see is a very common thing. I have to make this phone call, or I have to do this or that. So the experience itself is usually just as it is. But your ideas create everything. So why are we so fond of them? Why do we tinker? Why do we play with them? Why do we keep them? It's all because of ignorance. It's all because we don't see what it does, and that there is a belief that there is something to gain in our behavior. And usually as people who worry a lot, they defend that worry with, I'm prepared for everything. I thought through every disaster and catastrophe scenario that can happen in my life, so I'm prepared. And there is a sense of control. And maybe they also take a lot of precautions in the external to make everything safe. And this gives them the sensation of safety. But as you know, life doesn't happen like that. It will always be challenged. You can fight all these things. You can fight your aging. You can fight for feeling safe. But it's a lot of psychological burden to carry. And it's very little about what is happening now. It's always projections into the idea of how to be safe in an unsafe world, unsafe future. And this is why being with what is can seem difficult. Because to the mind it's very challenging. Because all the tools that you have built up and all the things that you have, all the safety and all the controls, and all the ideas of what your life is suddenly not worth much. And if you feel sadness about this, it's natural. But the present moment presents a different quality. To the egoic mind, it doesn't always feel nice. I think this is a part that is often misunderstood. That the present moment would just feel super nice. Complete joy, happiness, peace. But to the egoic mind, it means death. So you might see a little conflict there. For some people, it's not a big deal. For some people, it's super scary. For some it feels like dying, for some it feels like fading away. Feels like becoming nothing. But this is all residues of the egoic mind. It's all in comparison to the idea of being something. Because you actually have no problem with being nothing. When it happens organically, as we talked about before, in moments of concentration, or you're completely engrossed into something that you do, you're not screaming, "No, where am I? I'm lost." There's nothing of that. It's just a nice moment happening naturally by itself. And you just compare it to the heaviness when you come back from it. And you again go into the identity of that you have things to do, and you remember the situation in your life as a heaviness, then you feel that. And again, the challenging part is always the idea of what it is. The idea of what beingness is. The idea of what the egoic mind is. The idea of how to get free from that. The idea of where you are on that path. The idea of being a beginner or an advanced meditator. All these ideas. And all the problems that comes with those identities. I think you have heard many meditation traditions talk about having a beginner's mind to their students that's been practicing for a while, because they go into arrogance, of course, and they just assume that they know certain things because they've been practicing. So the practice is no longer fresh. And for the one who sees themselves as a beginner, the problem is the confidence. They think that nothing can really happen because I'm just a beginner. But both of these things are just ideas. That create a rigidity around your practice. There's actually nothing really that is advanced in meditation. The only thing you could talk about is to be mature for certain things. And sometimes that takes time. And sometimes it's just there. But just looking into these things, being sincere in your approach to it, is changing it. Because you're in alignment with that unfolding. Otherwise, there is resistance. Because it's so easy to be distracted. It's so easy to look into other things. And just to have a couple of things like your sadhana, and coming time and time again to satsang, are enough. And you will notice very organically when it's time to contemplate. to pray. To bow. And in that you don't have to do anything. You just follow what comes. But I still wouldn't call it luck. I still wouldn't call it luck. I think that for some people their spirituality can be very surprising. But that means that something is already open. The door has already been opened to something. And then the challenge will be in other things, because they might not have any spiritual context or know anything about what it is, think that there is something wrong with them. They have to go through a whole process of that. So in a way, for the one listening to satsang and doing their sadhana, when things are scary or when the ego drops, they won't completely freak out, because it is a part of what they signed up for. You might still freak out, but you might have some idea what's going on, at least. I wanted to read something from Swami's book again. Let's see if I can find it. He answered very beautifully about tamastic, rajastic and sattvic qualities. See if I can find it. How do the qualities of tamas, rajas and sattva work in a person? I think most of you have heard me talk about these things a little bit, but Swami my Guru summarizes it quite nicely. These three qualities can be found in all people, but one is always predominant. A sattvic person is full of good quality. He or she is knowledgeable, thinks pure thoughts, works selflessly and serves society, and is meditative and virtuous. Actions and desires are predominantly the quality of Raja. A Rajastic person is action-oriented and works for his or her own benefit. Such people are always in a hurry to become famous, and they actively engage in the material world. The qualities of tamas is ignorance and passivity. A tamastic person is full of negativity and bad qualities. Such people are lazy, jealous, and full of anger. They can harm not only themselves, but others as well, and are devoid of knowledge. And knowledge in this sense is the knowledge, knowing yourself. They are not interested in knowledge of the truth. That is the kind of knowledge. All three gunas or qualities affect the person, but one quality is always more active than the other two. Or one quality is very active, the second less active, and the third not active at all. For example, Janaka was a king as well as a sage. The dynamic Rajastic qualities was active in him. The sattvic qualities were predominant, and the quality of tamas was dormant. Similarly, all three gunas operate in every individual according to their nature. A person can become more sattvic or virtuous through satsang, self-study, self-contemplation, and meditation. And I think those qualities are just a very good way to understand yourself and the world. It can be an instrument for empathy also. Because I also see in spiritual circles that people can be very harsh with ignorance. But if you don't know, you don't know. And if you live a very tamastic life and you have never seen much sattvic qualities, how can you even think that they are possible or look up to them? And this is many people's life. And they won't believe your motives are selfless, even if it's quite obvious. They will think that there's something strange going on, something behind the scenes that they don't see. Because why would you be good just for the benefit of all? But this is just what comes with the knowledge. Because if you have a deep sense that we are not separate, then you will work from that. It will feel wrong to make things primarily about your needs or your world. It will be naturally shared. And you try to create a beneficial situation for all. But people might be skeptical. They might not believe you. And that is also understandable. And as you know, the more you're exposed to sattvic people, the easier it is to embody sattvic qualities. And it depends always on what qualities you look up to. If the qualities you look up to, or the people you look up to, our sages or people in history who have been very free, empathetic, with great self-knowledge. It's so much easier to embody those qualities. And if you focus on something else, fame or fortune, then you will start to embody those qualities. And from my observations of the world around me, I see how people go from tamastic to rajastic qualities. They go from being destructive and lazy to making their life work and to find some ambition in it and create something. And the people who have been in that energy, or maybe they just started in this very rajastic energy, in competition and in career, in all this, many of them seem to long for sattvic qualities. They want to give back. They dream of these, being a part of society in that way. And if you have many sattvic qualities, it can also be quite challenging in society, because people around you will say, you have no ambition. And you will say, you're completely right. There is nothing wrong to have any of those qualities. The only problem is if you don't acknowledge what qualities there is. If you have a strong rajastic drive, but you say that you're very sattvic, so you hold it back. Allow everything to be expressed. Otherwise, it's just another mask, another complication, another untruth. And on the other end, if you have sattvic qualities, don't put yourself down to being tamastic, even if people say that you are. That is also not true. Truthfulness is also complicated like that. It's complicated in relationship to the egoic mind. Because you can disguise putting yourself down as being very humble. And you can disguise arrogance by saying that you just have good self-confidence. I remember one situation in one satsang that I was giving one person advice and then the other person the opposite advice. And then one of the persons called me out on it. But you said the opposite to that person than to me. Yes, because you need to hear completely different things. And when we talk about things like like relaxing more in meditation. That just applies to most people. Some people are too relaxed in meditation. They need to be more alert. And this is also where the meditation has to come from you. You have to try all these things, especially if you feel that there is no balance. That your sadhana does not create any balance. That your mind is too foggy all the time. There's too much going on. Then there is not enough alertness. And if you're trying too hard, you will have headaches, you will be too tense. You will always feel like after a meditation session that you have to wipe your forehead. Then you're probably a bit too on. And there will be a relationship with this balance when you will try and you will see that sometimes you can balance the razor's edge. And it feels like you don't want to move or change anything. You just, the balance is here. That is the effort part. It gives the sense that you are keeping the balance. And after a while you understand that that balance is very natural. But I think most people go through this phase, balancing to just staying. Or better to describe what is happening is that meditation is just happening. Whatever you think about it. If you think that you have to go after it or avoid it, or it's not for me, or I have to take a break from it, or whatever it is, it will still just happen. Because it is not a thing. It sounds like a thing because there is a context. You can sit in a meditation position on a pillow on the floor and it feels like this is the context of meditation. But it's actually just a good way of sitting if you're sitting for a long time. The context of meditation is the context of life. Is there any questions today? Very good. So what is helpful in meditation? To be comfortable with yourself. Many people are so afraid of loneliness. But being comfortable with being alone is a great thing in your sadhana. That's why almost all meditation tradition have retreats. It's just to make you comfortable with being with yourself. It doesn't mean that it's not natural for you to be with others, have interactions with them. But when you are not completely dependent on them for your psychological safety, there's a lot of freedom. And there's also the possibility to be truly intimate with people. Because if you always want something from them, and always have an agenda with meeting them, it would be very difficult to really meet them. Because there cannot be any true openness. It's always an exchange. But many people I noticed are also obsessed with their independence, their idea of it. And they say that they're independent when they're actually not. Because it's fashionable, or I don't know why they do it. But there's a friendship that can happen when there is no agenda that can be very beautiful. There is still an exchange. You still enjoy the other person's company. But you don't have to have them. Because what happens as soon as you have to have people in your life is that you censor yourself. Because You might be afraid to lose them, to offend them, to change your relationship with them, to hurt your relationship with them in any way. And when you're not afraid of those things, you can talk very openly. There can be true communication, true intimacy. And there is also the possibility that you get very close to them very quickly, because you show so much of yourself without holding back. Thought we could sing something before we close today. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Shiva Om Namah. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Shiva Om Namah. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Shiva Om Namah. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Shiva Om Namah. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Shiva Om Namah. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Shiva Om Namah. Nataraja, Nataraja, Jai Shiva Shankara Nataraja. Nataraja, Nataraja, Jai Shiva Shankara Nataraja. Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om. Nataraja, Nataraja, Jai Shiva Shankara Nataraja. Nataraja, Nataraja, Jai Shiva Shankara Nataraja. Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om. Nataraja, Nataraja, Jai Shiva Shankara Nataraja. Nataraja, Nataraja, Jai Shiva Shankara Nataraja. Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om. Nataraja, Nataraja, Jai Shiva Shankara Nataraja. Nataraja, Nataraja, Jai Shiva Shankara Nataraja. Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om. Nataraja, Nataraja, Jai Shiva Shankara Nataraja. Thank you, thank you.